Hello, and welcome back. In this video, we're going to be learning how to divide a 3-digit number by a 2-digit number. Let's start by looking at this example. (305) divided by 12. Our first step is to see if we can put 12 into 3. Since we can't, let's extend and look at the first 2 digits. So we're looking at 30. How many times can we put 12 in 30 without going over 30? The answer is we can put it in 2 times. So we write the 2 here. And we multiply 12 by 2 and we get 24. Then we subtract and we get 6. The next step is to bring the 5 down. So we have 65. Now we're trying to see how many times we can put 12 into 65 without going over 65. Well, we know that 12 times 5 is 60, and I think that's the closest that we can get to 65. So we write the 5, we multiply and write it below, and we subtract, and 65 minus 60 is 5. Since we don't have any more digits left to bring down, and we can't make any more divisions, we end up with 5 as the remainder. So then we write 25, remainder 5. Now let's look at another problem. (350) divided by 12. Again, we're going to look at first if we can put 12 into 3. Since we can't, we look at 35. How many times can we put 12 into 35 without going over 35? Well, 12 times 3 is 36, which is too much, so we're still going to use 2. 12 times 2 is 24, and we're going to write 24. Then we subtract 35, so 5 minus 4 is 1, 3 minus 2 is 1, and we get 11. Now we have one other digit to bring down, so let's bring it down. 110. We're trying to see now how many times can we put 12 in 110 without going over 110. If we know our multiplication tables, then we know that 12 times 10 is 120, which is too much. So let's try 12 times 9. 12 times 9 is 108. And when we subtract, we get 2. This is a smaller number than 12, and we don't have any more steps to do. So 2 becomes our remainder, and our answer is 29, remainder 5. Let's take a look at another problem. 367 divided by 12. Again, our first step is to look at whether we can put 12 into the first digit, and we can't, so let's look at the first 2. How many times does 12 go into 36? In this case, it actually works out perfectly, because 12 times 3 is equal to 36. When we subtract, we get 0, but we still have another digit to bring down, so let's do that. We bring down the 7, and we see that we can't put 12 into 7 because 7 is less than 12. So 7 then just becomes our remainder, and we write 0 because we need to write something in this position, and we can't, since we can put 12 into 7 0 times. So we put 0, we multiply just like before. 12 times 0 is 0. We subtract, and we get 7 again. So this tells us that 7 is our remainder. Remember to don't stop until you've written a number. It could be 0 in the ones position slot. So if you ever come across a number that's less than the number you're dividing by, like we did here with the 7, don't worry about it. Just write the 0, multiply as usual, subtract as usual, and then you'll get the same number, but now you'll have a complete number. Because if we stopped at 3, that's not the right answer. It's 30. Now let's try a different problem. (451) divided by 23. Our first step is to see whether 23 can go into 4. It can't, so let's look at 45. How many times can 23 go into 45 without going over 45? The answer to that is just once. Because if we did twice, 2 times 23 is 46, and that's more than 45. So 23 times 1 is equal to 23, and when we subtract, we get 5 minus 3 is 2, 4 minus 2 is 2. That's less than 23, so our next step is to bring down the last digit. And so we bring down the 1. Now we have 221. Now this number is a little bit hard to guesstimate, but if we think about it, 23 times 10 is 230. 230 is a little bit too much, so 9 should work. Let's try 9. 23 times 9, let's multiply this. 3 times 9 is 27, so I'll write the 7. Remember that we're carrying a 2. 2 times 9 is 18, and we add 2, so 20. So the answer is 207. And then we subtract. When we subtract, you can just subtract in your head, or we can do it the mathematical way by writing it out. So let's try it that way. We can't do 1 minus 7, so we're going to borrow and make this 11. So 11 minus 7 is 4. 1 minus 0 is 1. 2 minus 2 is 0. So we have 14. And we can't divide anymore, and we don't have any more digits to bring down, so 14 is our remainder. Our answer becomes 19, remainder 14. Let's try one last problem. 451 divided by 67. Our first step is to see if 67 can go into 4. It can't, so let's see if it can go into 45. Again, it can't because 45 is still less than 67. So this means that we're basically going to have to guess the entire problem. We can use long division isn't really useful here in how it was useful in the other 4 problems, but we can still use it as a guess and check method to see if our guesses are too high or too low. So let's try to make some estimates here. 67 is close to 70, and 451 is close to 450. If we do 70 times 6, we get 420. That seems like the closest that we can do for now. So let's try the number 6. And remember, since we're looking at all 3 digits, the first digit that we write is going to be in the last position. So let's try 6. Now let's multiply. 7 times 6 is 42. So I'm going to write the 2. Remember that we're carrying a 4. 6 times 6 is 36, plus the 4 from before, and we get 40. So it's 402. And then we subtract. 1 minus 2, we can't do that, so we're going to borrow. This becomes 4, this becomes 11. 11 minus 2 is equal to 9. 4 minus 0 is equal to 4. 4 minus 4 is 0. So our answer is 49. This seems right, because if what we got was more than 67, that means that this number is too small. We'd have to bump it up 1. But this number is less than 67, and we don't have any more digits to bring down. So this is okay as a remainder. Therefore, our answer is 6, remainder 49, which is a pretty weird answer, but that's the answer to this question. That's how to divide a 3-digit number by a 2-digit number. Thanks for listening, and see you next time.